Hey there! Ready for a deep dive? Today, we're cracking open The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Oh, yeah. This one's a classic.
It really is. It's all about, like, creating a happier life.
It's like a
But
practical guide to less suffering, more joy.
exactly. Ruiz says it all comes down to the agreements we make.
Yeah, like the deals we strike, but not the fun kind.
Not the fun kind, the ones we make with ourselves, with other people.
And they kind of like run the show behind the scenes.
Totally. And often, not in a good way. So we're breaking down those four big agreements.
We're going to see where those agreements might be tripping us up.
And how we can, like, rewrite those rules for a smoother, happier ride.
It's like, imagine you've got this operating system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's running in the background of your life.
Totally.
But you didn't even get to choose the software.
It's like a hand-me-down phone with, like, apps you can't delete.
And some of them are outdated. This book helps us upgrade.
Love it. So agreement number 1 is all about being impeccable with your word.
Now, before you think, oh yeah, just don't be mean.
Right. It's deeper than that.
It goes way deeper.
Yeah.
We're talking about the sheer power of words.
The ones we say out loud, the ones stuck in our heads.
Even the tone of voice.
Yeah, like how it lands on other people, how it lands on us.
It can build up or tear down, create or destroy.
It's wild.
It's like, think about when you were a kid.
Okay.
You basically believed everything grown-ups told you, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Our minds are like sponges for beliefs early on.
Especially from people we look up to.
Parents, teachers, whoever's got that authority figure vibe.
Oh, yeah.
And words can land like spells, whether they're true or not.
That's a good way to put it.
Like Ruiz uses this example of a little girl who's told she has an ugly voice.
Oh, man.
One comment
But think about the impact.
impacts how she expresses herself for years.
And it's not just what others say to us, right? It's what we tell ourselves.
Yeah, oh yeah. The self-talk is huge.
The good news is, those positive words,
They've got power, too, to
Yeah.
break those negative spells.
it's like an antidote.
Like someone telling you you're not stupid can chip away at years of feeling not good enough.
It's like reminding yourself of the truth.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
that negative self-talk. That's us casting spells on ourselves, too.
We've got to be careful with that inner dialogue.
So, being impeccable with our word.
It's about awareness, intention,
It's like becoming our own hype person.
instead of our own worst critic.
Yes. And it's not about, like, forcing fake positivity
No. It's about being mindful
of the energy we're putting out there.
to ourselves and the people around us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was agreement number 1. Be impeccable with your word.
Up next, we're diving into agreement number 2. Don't take anything personally,
Ooh, this one's tough.
because it can feel so personal.
Especially when someone's coming at you directly.
But Ruiz, he's saying, even when something feels incredibly personal,
Mm-hmm.
it often has very little to do with you
Wait, really?
and everything to do with the other person's own stuff.
Their baggage.
Their baggage, their insecurities.
Their own lens on the world?
Exactly. It's like we're all starring in our own personal movies, right?
And everyone else is like a guest star in our drama.
Exactly. So when someone lashes out,
It's like gives you a look.
it's usually more a reflection of their inner world.
Then some objective truth about us.
Like if someone calls you stupid, it probably says more about their own insecurities.
Than your actual intelligence.
Right.
So their jerk move, it's really their problem.
You got it. You don't have to internalize it.
I can acknowledge it,
Maybe set some boundaries.
but I don't have to let it, like, wreck my day.
Or define who you are.
Okay, so I'm not responsible for other people's emotional baggage.
You are not.
That's actually pretty freeing.
And here's another twist. Ruiz says we shouldn't even take compliments personally.
Wait, why not? I love compliments.
Because true self-worth, it comes from within.
So it's like, okay, cool. You think I'm amazing?
That's great. But you don't need their validation to know you're amazing.
It's about cultivating that inner confidence.
That doesn't go up and down with other people's opinions.
I like that. Okay, so don't take anything personally, good or bad.
Exactly.
And now for agreement number 3. Don't make assumptions.
Uh-oh.
I know, right? This one's a big one for me.
Yeah.
I'm like the queen of jumping to conclusions,
Tell me about it.
creating whole stories in my head.
Based on
Like,
air. Pretty much. It's like one text message, and I'm convinced I'm getting dumped.
the human imagination.
It's a powerful thing.
But assumptions.
They get us into trouble.
They do. It's natural, right? We look for patterns.
We try to make sense of things.
But assumptions become a problem when we treat them like they're facts.
Without, like, checking if they're actually true.
Yes. Have you ever misinterpreted a text message?
All the time. Like, You were quiet on the phone and I thought you were mad at me.
But I was just tired.
Exactly. But in my head, it was a whole thing.
A whole saga.
Totally.
Yeah.
Ruiz uses this example of like someone smiling at you at the mall.
Okay.
And suddenly you're picking out wedding china. And they were just like being polite.
Right. Assumptions, they come from our own insecurities, our fears.
They keep us from seeing things clearly.
And from communicating, honestly.
Instead of filling in the blanks, we can choose curiosity.
We can ask questions.
Exactly.
So simple, but so hard sometimes.
It takes practice.
It really does. So instead of playing psychic...
We can actually, like, check in with the other person.
Right. Which is way less exhausting than making up stories in our heads.
Way less.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about asking others for clarification.
Oh, you mean like getting curious about the assumptions we make about ourselves?
Exactly. Those I could never. Or I'm not good enough to. Thoughts.
Ugh. Yeah, those are the worst.
They can really hold us back.
It's like we've built these walls in our minds.
Totally. And those walls, they're often built from these old agreements.
The ones we were talking about.
Yeah, the ones that might not even fit anymore.
So how do we break free from that?
Well, Ruiz talks about this idea of domestication.
Domestication, like with animals.
Kind of. He's saying we're all born free, but then we learn to conform.
To society's rules, expectations, all that.
Exactly. It's like we're trained to behave in certain ways, believe certain things.
He even compares it to like how we train dogs.
Right. Treat for good behavior, scolding for bad.
And over time, we internalize those rules, become our own inner critic.
Precisely. We judge ourselves so harshly.
When we don't meet those standards, which, let's be real, are often totally arbitrary.
Totally. And that judgment creates this sense of victimhood.
This whole poor me mentality.
But the thing is, we have the power to choose differently.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we break free from that self-imposed prison?
One powerful tool Ruiz offers is forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Yeah. And I'm not just talking about forgiving others.
Although that's important too.
Absolutely. But I'm talking about forgiving ourselves.
Forgiving ourselves for what?
For all the times we've judged ourselves harshly.
For not being perfect, basically.
Exactly. For not living up to some impossible standard.
Which none of us can actually achieve.
Exactly. And that inner critic, it can be brutal.
Tell me about it.
But holding on to that guilt and shame, it keeps us stuck.
It's like we're poisoning ourselves.
It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Wow, yeah. Okay, that's a powerful image.
So forgiveness is really an act of self-compassion.
Giving ourselves the same grace we'd give, like someone we love.
Exactly. Recognizing that we're all works in progress.
We're all just out here doing our best.
With what we've got, and that's enough.
I love that. Okay, so forgiveness is huge. But what about those negative beliefs?
The ones that just feel so ingrained, so much a part of who we think we are.
Like, how do we even begin to unravel those?
Well, Ruiz has this idea of a parasite that lives in our minds.
A parasite. Not the kind you pick up from swimming in a lake, I hope.
No. He's talking about those fears and limiting beliefs.
Oh, those parasites.
The ones that feed off our energy.
I know those parasites well.
He describes it as a monster with 1,000 heads.
1,000 heads. Intense.
Each head representing a different fear.
Okay, that makes sense.
And to become free, we have to confront those fears one by one.
So it's like we have to starve the beast.
Exactly. Starve it by refusing to feed it with our attention and energy.
Easier said than done, right? Fears can feel so overwhelming.
They can. But we're not powerless against them.
So how do we fight back? How do we slay this multi-headed monster?
Ruiz outlines what he calls the Toltec path to freedom.
The Toltec path to freedom.
It involves mastering 3 key areas: awareness, transformation, and intent.
Okay, break that down for me.
Awareness is about shining a light on those subconscious agreements and beliefs that are running the show.
So becoming aware of those automatic thoughts and reactions, the ones that might be holding us back.
Exactly. It's like hitting the pause button.
And really paying attention to what's going on in our own minds.
You got it. And then comes transformation.
Okay, what does that involve?
This is where we actively challenge those old agreements, those old stories we tell ourselves.
So instead of just noticing those negative patterns, we actually start to change them.
Exactly. It's about choosing to see things differently, to adopt more empowering beliefs.
Beliefs that actually support our growth and happiness.
Precisely. And finally, there's intent.
Intent. Okay.
This is where we align our actions and choices with our deepest values and desires.
So it's not just about thinking differently, it's about living differently.
Exactly. It's about walking the talk.
Yeah.
Living a life that's a true reflection of who we are.
Not who we think we should be.
Precisely.
I like that a lot.
And, Ruiz has this pretty powerful concept he calls the initiation of the dead.
The initiation of the dead sounds a little intense.
It might sound a little morbid,
Just a tad.
but it's actually about letting go of the old you.
Okay, I'm listening.
Those limited identities we create based on fear and past conditioning.
The ones that are holding us back.
Exactly.
Mm.
It's a symbolic death to make way for a new, more authentic self to emerge.
So it's like shedding old skin, allowing ourselves to evolve and grow.
Exactly. And Ruiz believes that by embracing these principles,
Awareness, transformation, intent.
by consciously choosing to live from a place of love, forgiveness, and personal responsibility,
We can create a more harmonious and joyful reality.
not just for ourselves, but for everyone around us.
It's a beautiful vision, isn't it?
It is. And while it might seem idealistic,
Yeah, like, can we really transform the world just by transforming ourselves?
Ruiz believes it starts with each individual making a conscious choice to live differently.
One person at a time.
Exactly. Like that ripple effect,
One person's positive energy and actions can inspire and uplift others.
creating a chain reaction of love and awareness.
I love that image. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground with these 4 agreements.
You really have.
We've talked about the how, right? Like how to actually put these agreements into practice.
But practical steps.
Exactly, but I'm wondering about the why.
The why.
Yeah, like changing ingrained habits, those old patterns, it's tough.
It's not easy. It takes effort.
So what's the payoff? Why bother with all this self-reflection and transformation? What's the big motivator?
Well, Ruiz has this interesting idea.
Yeah.
He says that humans were actually addicted to suffering.
Addicted to suffering. That seems kind of extreme, right?
It might sound a little intense at first,
Just a tad.
but think about it for a second.
Okay, I'm thinking.
How often do we cling to those familiar patterns, even when they cause us pain?
Oh man, all the time. It's like this again, but we keep coming back for more.
We replay those old hurts in our minds,
Hmm.
beat ourselves up over past mistakes,
It's like we're drawn to that negativity even when it doesn't serve us.
like craving comfort food, even when you know it's not good for you.
Right. It's familiar, it's easy, maybe even comforting in a weird way.
Exactly. And what Ruiz is suggesting is that we choose suffering because it's what we know.
Because it feels safe.
Safe, predictable. Even if our identity is based on pain or limitation, it's familiar territory.
So how do we break free from that? Is it even possible to, like, choose happiness with that same intensity?
Ruiz believes it is.
Okay, I like where this is going.
He calls it heaven on earth.
Heaven on earth. Sounds pretty great so far, but he doesn't mean like some far-off paradise.
Oh, no. He's talking about cultivating inner peace and happiness right here, right now.
No matter what's going on around us.
Exactly. It's not about pretending life is perfect, because it's not.
Right, life can be messy.
It's about changing how we react to that messiness.
Okay, so not ignoring the hard stuff, but choosing a different response.
You got it. It's like instead of getting swept away by the drama, we're learning to surf those waves.
I like that analogy. So how do we learn to surf? Where do we even begin?
Well, Ruiz talks about seeing the world through new eyes.
New eyes. What does that even look like?
Imagine wearing those old sunglasses, the ones all scratched up,
Okay, I can picture that.
and then you finally clean them off. Suddenly, the colors are brighter, things are clearer. That's what it's like to shift our perception.
To see things with fresh perspective without all that old baggage.
Exactly. We can choose to focus on love, gratitude, the good stuff,
Even amidst the chaos.
especially amidst the chaos. And, it all starts with self-love.
Self-love, it really is the foundation for everything, isn't it?
Absolutely. Think about the way a parent loves a child, no matter what.
That unconditional love.
That's the kind of love we can learn to give ourselves. It's about silencing that inner critic, accepting ourselves, flaws and all.
Which, I'm not going to lie, can be really hard.
It's a practice.
It really is. But here's the thing, right? When we do offer ourselves that compassion, it doesn't just stay with us.
It ripples outward.
Exactly. Our energy shifts. We interact with others differently. We approach challenges differently. It's like that self-love becomes contagious.
Creating a chain reaction.
Love, and awareness.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful vision. And, we hope you deep divers out there listening found something valuable in these 4 agreements.
We hope this deep dive gave you something to think about, something to apply in your own lives.
Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about progress.
One step at a time.
One agreement, one choice, one moment of self-love at a time. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the 4 agreements. We'll see you next time.